Alright, this is going to be the install video for the 6-pot on the 300ZX, and I got a lot of stuff already done from doing the 4 pots and stuff like that. So obviously getting your factory stuff off is first. I didn't install my stainless steel line and reinstall the factory stuff, so get all your factory OE stuff off, your lines, your rotor, caliper, all that. You'll be at this point. You'll need your Brembo 6-pot calipers from the Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8 2012 2014 models. You also need the adapter brackets, and then the hardware you're going to need for the adapter bracket to the wheel hub. You're going to need 4 M12 1.5 by 50 millimeter, 4 flat washers. I got the stainless steel 18-8. You also need 4 lock washers, M12. Also got stainless steel on that, and 12 millimeter lock nuts. Went with zinc plated 10.9 class, same as the bolt. And that is the hardware that will connect your bracket to your wheel hub. And you will need a 19 millimeter socket. Tighten it, torque it to torque specs. Torque specs are in the file. And then the hardware you'll need to connect your Brembo 6-pot caliper to the bracket. You'll be a M14 1.5 by 60 millimeter, and you'll need to get M14 lock washers. I got the stainless steel for those as well. Over here on these, for your lock washer, flat washer setup, you need to have the lock washer to the head, and then the flat washer between the lock washer and the bracket. The bracket comes with bolt spacers that you'll need. This positions the caliper center over the rotor. You also need a 370Z sport rotor, 14-inch, 355 millimeter by 32 millimeter thick. This is the Z1 2-piece, and that's alright. You'll notice that the caliper that I'm using, it says left hand side, which would be the driver's side. The Jeep Cherokee puts these calipers to the rear side of the wheel, this side of the hub, but the Nissan hubs are on this side. So we're putting the caliper on the opposite side from where the Jeep SRT8 had it, to put, 1, your bleeders to the top side, and 2, it doesn't matter because your orientation, all of your pistons are the same size. They're all 40 millimeters. I took the pads out. It's easier to work with. Show you how this goes on there. So you're going to flip-flop the calipers. You're going to put the left-hand side on the right-hand side, and you're going to put the right-hand side on the left-hand side. Pistons are all the same, so it doesn't matter. The reason we're doing that is because you don't have anywhere to put bleeder valves on this side, so you can't change it. There's no cross tube. It's a monoblock, just one piece of aluminum. Alright, after you've gotten all of your factory stuff off, you've removed your caliper, removed your rotor, removed all of your factory lines up to your hard line, then the first thing you want to do is you want to mount the bracket. The ear goes to the top. You want to mount the bracket to the inboard side of the hub. So your bolt heads will go through, and then you can see the bolt go through the lock nut just enough, about 2 threads. I don't like a lot of extra hanging out, so they're just the right length, 50 millimeter. Alright, once you get your bracket mounted to the inside like that. Then you want to temporarily put your rotor on. Then we're going to put the caliper on, mounting it to the top first, because you're going to have to mark the arch where it hits this bolt head. You do have to notch the caliper to get it to rotate down to get proper pad coverage. So I'm going to show you how to mark that to do the grind mod. Nowhere near like the rear. You just have to relieve just enough of the arch where it hits this bolt head to allow the caliper to rotate down and get good pad coverage. Alright, I got the rotor on. Got some temporary nuts on there. Snub them down. Make sure we're holding the rotor straight. Now we're going to take caliper. We're going to mount it to the top and let it rotate down and see where the arch is hitting that bolt head, and we'll mark it with a Sharpie to grind notch it. What I do is I'll sit my bolt in just enough so that I can sit my spacer on it. I only got one hand, so lining all this up a little tricky. I got tricks for all kind of stuff. So anyway, you'll put your bolt in, and don't forget you're going to have your spacer right here. Centers the caliper over the rotor, and when it rotates down, you'll get a true mark of where you're hitting. You don't have to grind them more than you have to. Again, just stick the bolt through just enough so that your spacer will hang on it, and then when you slide your caliper down in there and get it lined up, you get a few threads on it, and then we'll have it secured at the top and let it rotate down. See where we're hitting that bolt head and where we need to relieve a little material to get full rotation and get full pad coverage. I don't think I mentioned it in the beginning, but your bolt, your M14 bolt for your calipers right here is a 22 millimeter socket size. And you can see we got my spacer, got the bolt in. Now I'm going to tighten it down. Just snub it, just enough to flatten that lock washer. We're not going to torque it or anything. You want it to be able to move. See the bolt head there? And whenever the arch comes, when it comes down, it's hitting. So what we'll do, get this tightened down a little bit so that we know we're truly centered and all that, and then we'll take and we'll mark where that's hitting with a Sharpie, and then we're going to notch it out. You can see how the bottom needs to rotate down. Alright, now that we got that tight, we can see just where we're hitting right here. And you rotate it up, got it snubbed down to where to hold it, but you can see, boom, that's where we're hitting. So we'll get us a Sharpie and mark that. I took and I just marked it. You can see the smooth line where I traced around the lobe, and then I just kind of went out a little bit, guessing about how much I'm going to need to get enough rotation to get pad. You can see how much you're missing down here, and if you wanted to measure from center to center and see exactly how much you're missing for the alignment, because once you get those two holes lined up, you'll have proper pad coverage. You'll have full sweep coverage. This caliper is off of a 15-inch rotor, so the pads are made to fill a 15-inch rotor's full sweep. So on these 14-inch, you'll cover about 101% of the rotor sweep face. Once you get these lined up, I just eyeball it. I can see about how much I'm missing here. I put about that much there. It's not that hard to get this one bolt in and line it up, see how it sits. Very easy to work with the pads out, so I recommend that. Just remove the pads, and then taking it on and off is really not that big a deal. So now we're going to remove our bolt, get the caliper off, take our 4-inch grinder and relieve that material that we marked, and then do the same thing. Set it back up there and see if we removed enough so that the bottom mount hole will rotate down and line up with our bracket. Alright, I didn't quite remove all of what I marked. Ain't no need in removing no more than you need to. Just need to clear that bolt head. But just to give everybody an idea, some people freak out when you go grinding on calipers, but these things are massive. I'm 6'2". This This is it sitting in my lap. Okay, let's just give you an idea. That bar is 5/8 thick, and at its thinnest point, right here at the middle of the arch, 7/8. So 7/8 by 5/8. That's thick aluminum. So removing this little bit for this bolt head is not that big a deal. You still got the web, plenty of structure there. You're not doing anything that's going to affect the structural integrity of this caliper, I promise you. Only thing I wish is that I wish the front face looked like the back face, where they have the humps here. Did that on the front. They'd be lighter. They're not that heavy because they're aluminum, but they're massive. So anyway, we got that notch done. I'm gonna put it back up here on the top bolt, let it rotate down, see if our bottom hole lines up, and go from there. Got it repinned here on the top, and you see how much we're off down there. Rotate it in a little bit, and where we're hitting, need to take some more out on that side right there, where we're hitting. Half a bolt from lining up, so I'll probably take another 1/2 inch, 5/8 out of it. Let's see if we can get it to line up. As you can see, starting to get our rotation, starting to get where we need to be. So take a little bit more out, see how we are from there. Alright, we got it grinded down to where it clears. I went ahead and cleaned it up with the sanding disc on the Dremel, smoothed it out and all that. And that's what's needed to clear the bolt head. Still plenty of meat there. I'll get it bolted up. I'm going to go ahead and put the pads back in it before I bolt it back up. Alright, got it on there, lined up like we was talking about. You can see we got just enough clearance down here on our bolt head. That's all you really need, is just enough to clear that. It allows the caliper to roll around, rotate down, and get the pad coverage. You can see the pad follows the full sweep of the rotor. 100% coverage on that. Went ahead and attached the stainless steel line. If you got factory suspension, you can use the bolt right there for your tab, or you can use this one up here up top. But this is at full lock. You can see the line is not tight. It's got slack. So it is enough line to get full lock. And then if you notice down here on the A-arm, there's a little grind where I took off the tab. I'm assuming that with the OE tie rod arm, the rubber air duct, there's a round stud right there that's got a threaded hole. This bottom bolt, when you go full lock to the other side, would hit it. So I removed it to see exactly how much I would be losing. It's maybe like 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, whatever. I don't know where the little piece went. But it's right there. I got the SPL ducts, and you do have to trim that a little bit. You can already see where that's hitting. And so you have to kind of cut that corner because the bracket will be hanging down. But that little guy right there, I just took a Dremel and cut that weld. There's a little tack on both sides. That might be like 1/4 inch, but with my air deflect sheet metal there, it's plenty rigid. I'll show you. I'll turn it back full lock the other way and show you how close that bolt's getting. Alright, now we're full locked the other way. You can see our line stays where it needs to be, nice, by using that. but it's not hitting. That's a full lock. I'm pushing on it right now. It's not moving. So you get your full turn. For your air deflector, you have to trim it. Like I say, it's sheet metal. It's got 2 bolts holding it there, and don't really rattle or nothing. You have to snipe that corner. But that's it. That gets it all on there. You can remove your temporary nuts off here, put your wheel on. I suggest leaving, when you pick a spot for your line, leave it loose and turn it lock to lock. Make sure your line doesn't get in a bind. You've got plenty of play in it each way. And then once you find a spot that keeps it out of the way, you're good to go. Torque specs are in the write-up. There it is, full lock back out. I won't edit that. That way people will know that that was lock to lock or whatever. Give you a view of how everything looks from the back. All the links are good. You don't have a lot of extra hanging out. And then on the inside, you can just, let's see if I can get a view down here. Bing! There it is. There's your caliper bolt. You can see that it also gets full thread. That's our notch. That's a good little view of that. Misses it just right. And again, it's not the lobe that you're trying to miss. It's the bolt head. Yeah, it might be missing 1 thread. That's 60 millimeter though, but I'd rather miss 1 than have 4 sticking out, 4 millimeter sticking out. Because the next length from 60 would be 65. I haven't torqued this yet. I mean, it's snub. You got lock nuts on everything. It don't need to come sticking out. I mean, it would clear the rotor. It would sit inside the hat on both of them. You can see right there, you would be in. If you wanted to get them to where they come all the way through, you could stick through maybe 4 millimeters. I think it's good like that. I mean, you're coming all the way through that, and then you're just missing 1 thread from being all the way through. You can just barely see the tip of the bolt right there. But then you've got all this nominal length right here, and then when you torque it, you're going to create a grip strength. Same thing with the one holding the bracket to the wheel hub. Look good to me. But that's it. 6-pot 300ZX. Needs a couple mods. Some of it's up to you. If you don't want to remove that, I'm probably going to get my lower control arms powder coated and new bushings put in. I've got to get new wheel bearings. You can see that it doesn't drag, but you can hear my wheel bearing. Definitely needs to be replaced. So anyway, once I remove that, to go get my bearing pressed in, I also have new coilovers to put in. I'm probably going to take this upright arm, take that bracket back there, take my lower control arm, and get them powder coated and new bushings put in. And then when I install my coilover and everything, will look nice and pretty. But that's it. So I'm not torquing nothing because I'm going to take mine back off. Anyway, that is up to you. Definitely have to do that, or else the caliper's not going to rotate and get full pad. But as you can see, it's nothing like the rear. Got plenty of meat on these gargantuan calipers. 6-pot, 40 millimeters each, 240 millimeter total, just to give you an idea. That's a 10.5. They're huge, and you can get it all done for under 1,500 bucks. You can't beat that. Hit me up. Get these brackets. I need to sell them.